Hey everybody, Jeremy here. So today I wanted to share with you an interview that Todd McFarlane did with Ahsoka the Geek over on Instagram on March 2nd. It was a very nice interview and they covered a lot of topics. And Todd talked about the DC Multiverse line, his design philosophy, talked a little bit about business, the creative process, and just really giving us some insight into his mind and how things are working there at McFarlane Toys in regards to the DC Multiverse line. So I'm going to show you some clips from that interview. But if you want to see the full one, the full interview, and I highly recommend that you do, it's almost an hour long. Check out the link in the description. I'm going to link it to Ahsoka the Geek's YouTube channel where you can go over there, look at the full interview, and give him a subscribe as well. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that I thought was pretty interesting in looking at that interview was Todd talking about the success of the DC Multiverse line. And as we know, it was the best-selling action figure line in 2021 in the United States and Canada. And let's see what he, at least partially, attributes that success to.
One of the reasons for the success, let me just tell you what one of the simple reasons is. The big companies, and Lego does this. So if you sort of think about Lego, they have to reuse like a certain amount of their pieces, and they're not allowed. They have budgets and they can't do all that. So they can't even think about doing all the iterations of Batman. Maybe the people are saying, Todd, you're doing too much Batman. But I'm telling you, the other guys can't even get close to it because they can't spend the money on making new molds over and over and over and over. Because we were having conversations and they're going, you want to do that character, or you're going to have to cut a new mold? Yeah, no, I know that. You're going to cut a new mold? Uh-huh. Well, but that character over there is also going to need a new mold and new steel. Uh-huh. And you're going to cut one for him too. Yes, I'm going to cut new steel for a lot of these guys. Like, what are you talking about? And then I'll reuse a little bit, but and what that does, what that allows me, and here's where there should be no shock, it allows me to make characters nobody's made before. Because if everybody has to have Batman's chest and legs and Superman's arms, you're limited very quickly as to what characters you can make. If you basically throw that model out the door and say, we're just doing the cool people, who cares whether we got to cut steel, right? Does it complicate my life? Of course it does. But I'm not a Fortune 500 company. I'm not public. I do not have to maximize profit. I can just make fun stuff that I would collect for myself. That's okay. And oh, by the way, if it costs me more money and I make less, there's only one person that suffers on that equation, me. And if I'm okay spending my money on mold, let's go spend money on mold. Like, I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is putting toys out there that will be exciting and hopefully will appeal to the fan base and that they'll buy. And if the only way to get there is to make and cut new molds, then that's just part of the cost of doing business.
You know, one of the coolest things about Todd's response there is his admittance that he doesn't really care if he has to make new molds in order to make new figures. Now, we all know that molds are used and reused over and over again, and parts are swapped and all that stuff. So it's really kind of refreshing and reassuring to hear him say, like, he doesn't care if he has to make new molds and if it costs more money, because in the end, it's going to be all about the final product and the quality of that new product and just getting out the cool stuff. So it was really nice to hear him say that. Now, the second clip that I want to show you is Todd basically just talking about the toys that they make in the DC Multiverse line and the philosophy of that design, what goes on through his head and what direction that he gives his team when it comes to creating these scopes for characters.
There's two different kind of comic book toys we make. We make the ones that are specific to a panel that we just go, hey, we're making that Greg Capullo cover, and we're doing that. We're trying to hit that. Then there's others where we're just saying, hey, there's Aquaman, and he's got this costume, and 25 artists have drawn this guy in this costume. Let's not be a slave to any one of those unless one of them really sort of piques my interest. let's just do the coolest version of that guy in that costume that we can. If they said, Todd, you're going to be drawing Aquaman, here's the costume, I would look at what everybody else had done, and then I would do my own version of it anyways, right? I wouldn't copy somebody else's drawing. And so sometimes I have to remind my sculptors not to be so loyal when I'm giving them reference, because I go, I'm not giving you the reference because I want it to look like that drawing. I'm giving you the reference to show you where the straps are and where the belt is and where the gun attaches and where the gloves go. And now let's do the fun version of that. I don't think anybody's made the gloves thick. If I was drawing it, I'd make the gloves thick. Let's do it, and let's hand it in and see if the good people at DC and the Warner Brothers will sign off on it. Why does it matter whether it's on paper or it's in plastic? Let's just have fun. In this case, let's make it look good at retail. If it looks good in the package, hopefully it'll look better on your shelf. And so we need to make it look as interesting, cool, fun, sexy, whatever word you want, at retail as possible, because we're in competition with, hundreds of other toys in that aisle on that exact same moment. And because at some point we're gonna run through, a lot of the characters that people wanted to see up front, and how do you keep it going? And part of it, I keep telling DC and Warner Brothers specifically, is I think we're just going to have to put out some stuff that is just good looking toys, and who cares whether it's tied to a movie and or a comic book. Let's say Miracle Man. Is he super popular? Not really. But if I make a good looking Miracle Man, could I sell him? I hope so, right? And why? Because somebody's going to come along just saying, man, look at that crazy color, yellow, red, and green. It's like some weird Christmas color meets, Homer Simpson. And mismatch, and I don't know what it is, but I collect DC, and that looks super cool. I'm going to get it. And not really even know who Mr. Miracle is. I said Miracle Man, sorry. Mr. Miracle. And to me, it's okay, right? Toys can just be toys visually, and characters can be characters. And just because a character is popular doesn't mean that his costume is cool. And just because a character isn't popular doesn't mean that you can't sell it.
Seeing that may help to answer some questions about why certain characters don't look exactly the way that they did from the source material, and why it's not exactly one-to-one all the time. I think that we might have a tendency to look at it as an oversight, but based on Todd McFarlane's response there, it could just very well be an artistic decision. Them just sort of putting their own spin on things and just getting the core of it right. And of course, it all has to be approved by the people over at Warner Brothers in DC before it can even go out. So that was a really cool thing there. Now, the next one is just more business oriented. So DC Direct is now under control, if you will, of McFarlane Toys. So they're going to be doing the DC Direct stuff moving forward. So here's Todd discussing that situation and why Warner Brothers decided to go that route.
They decided that they basically didn't want to be doing DC Direct themselves. They wanted to push it out and basically treat it like they do with, 1,000 other licenses they have, right? Whether it's T-shirts, hats, video games, stickers, coloring books, whatever, right? Push it out. And so we knew it was coming out, and, we had the conversation with them that you already got Spin Master is out there, and then you're going to have McFarlane. And then if you take the DC Direct and give it to somebody else, you're going to have three companies essentially sort of scrumming over the same characters, doing the same things. Somebody's going to come in, you've got some inventory. They're just going to either dump the inventory and cheapen your brand and whatever else. And it's like, I don't know. If it was me, and maybe I'm completely biased, I would give it to somebody who's already invested in your universe, that will help sort of nurture it, and now just use it as an add-on and can get into different places, different price points, do statues and do some stuff that's different that people are used to. And I guess we were persuasive enough that they said, yeah, you you handling both of those pieces, especially they could see the success of the DC multiverse.
Right.
Yeah, you know what, we like what you're doing, and we think this could work in tandem, and so that's it, and we'll see how crazy we can get with all of it.
There's another part in this interview that I wasn't able to capture. It came near the end, but if you're interested in replica things, sort of like one to one, like helmets and stuff like that, like Hasbro does with Marvel Legends, Todd was asked if McFarlane Toys were thinking about doing something along those lines. And he did say that they have a couple of things that they're thinking about, a couple of things that's in the works, maybe a market for it. So they're going to try a couple things, see how it goes, and then move on from there. So really, really interested to see what they have in store as far as wearable cosplay kind of things going forward in the future. So before I leave here, there's one more thing that I wanted to show, and it was Todd's thoughts on the diversification of figures, namely female figures in the DC Multiverse line, and whether or not we can expect to see more of that in the future, perhaps from more obscure characters or just more diverse characters in general. So here's what he had to say about that.
I don't think about those things. What I think about is, can I sell this figure?
Yeah.
Period. And so it goes like this. It goes, superhero figures are up here, right? Superhero figures is like your big one. Sadly or not, depending on your point of view, male superhero up here, right? Yeah. Then there's a drop, and it's not a little bit of a drop. It's a giant drop. Yeah. The giant drop then goes to like villains and stuff like that. Some of your big sort of, your Thanos or your Dark Side or, Jokers or whatever. And then at about that same range, sometimes a little bit less, depending on who they are the female figure, right? So yeah. Female figures, at least from my 30 years experience, they just sell at a fraction of the figure. Again, is Wonder Woman going to sell? Will she ever sell as good as Batman in the boys' action aisle? No. So to me, I just go, what's the character, and can I sell it? And if the choice is between doing Man-Bat, not the most popular guy, but it's a bat, it's a big giant creature monster bat, and the 20 most popular female superhero, I can sell Man-Bat way more. Why do I know? Because I've been doing it for 30 years.
So those are just 4 topics that were covered in that nearly hour-long live stream between Todd McFarlane and Ahsoka the Geek. There's a lot more to go over. There's a lot more to see, but those are just 4 things that stood out to me. So once again, if you want to see the full interview, check the link in the description and go over to Ahsoka the Geek's YouTube channel, where you can find the entire interview, and then you can get some more insight from there. But yeah, this was a really cool thing. I'm glad that I was able to catch it, and I hope that you guys check out the full interview. It's really nice to be able to see the people who help make these figures happen for us, and just basically how their brain works. Always nice to see. All right, guys, so that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jeremy. Talk to you later.